Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're giving everybody a moment here to go ahead and start kind of filing in. We've got a few stragglers coming in, I think, a few minutes after, so didn't want to get started too early. But thank you for joining us. My name is Taylor Pruitt. I will be partly taking you through the webinar today. I also have some colleagues of mine with me, Holly Gibson and Mark Conway.
Hey, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And Holly and Mark are going to be helping me out with some of our new features that we're kind of unveiling or discussing today. They've each had a pretty large part in kind of the direction or the development of some of these features that we're going to talk about, so have some pretty unique insight and some very first-hand insight to share with you as well. But Holly is kind of a jack of all trades here. She is involved in a lot of things, but primarily works with our clients in any way that we can help them out, really giving a lot of direction and vision to the company for new features, new products that are coming out, and really a direction on how we can best support our clients and give them the best tools in the industry. Mark is our most senior developer here. He has had his hand in quite a few things that we've done with ConstructionSuite as well as ConstructionOnline. And primarily the PlanSwift integration and the QuickBooks desktop integration we'll be talking about today. Mark is going to be really, without exaggeration, the most knowledgeable person in the world on that. So as far as that goes, you guys are in great hands. We're really excited to have them in here. And really the nature of this is, Holly, I'll let you talk a little bit about it, but it's exciting to be doing a webinar with multiple people because we've got so many different things coming together today. Usually our webinars are more focused on a single feature or one or two things maybe. Today we've got kind of such an arsenal of new things to give you guys that really had to bring in everybody and call in the cavalry. So Holly, why don't you tell them a little bit about some of the momentum we've had this year and some of the features they're going to be seeing today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Well, like Taylor was saying, I've had really the good fortune to be able to work with thousands of you over the last 5 years. And so 2017 has been an especially exciting year so far, I think, for me and for many of our clients. The features that we'll be covering today, the new features, of course, many of these are things that have been in demand by you guys, really things that you want, tools that you need to really help you continue to be able to build a better business every day. So we're really excited to be able to show some of those off. We've seen, growth this year for 2017. It's been really exciting. There's a lot of things that we've done webinars about earlier this year or things that maybe we won't cover today that just speak volumes really to the momentum and growth that we've seen and that we know that you guys are seeing too in turn.
Yeah, and just for an example, for those of you who are taking a look at the screen here, if you just look down our left sidebar, the features we have, just looking at the tags, the new features, and the newsfeed that's in beta right now, is a testament in itself to the momentum we've had. The lead tracking in itself is something that we've already done one webinar on. We'll be talking about enhancements to that today, not necessarily the whole feature. Estimating enhancements that we've made this year already.
Yeah.
Redline, of course, is huge. That's one thing we won't be focusing on today, but just kind of going up the list. And that's a testament to the momentum that you're talking about, and that's not even including really anything that we're talking about today.
That's exactly right. Everything today is brand new in addition to all of that. One thing worth mentioning, I see a couple of you guys here joining us from different places all over the world, so we appreciate you joining and kind of accommodating the time difference there. But that's one area where we've seen tremendous growth. We have implemented support for almost 120 countries all over the world. At this point for ConstructionOnline. And, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, the international growth and working with clients all over the world personally has been a great experience this year. We've really seen a lot of that growth and having firsthand conversations and actually interacting with people from, not only the Canadas and UKs and Australias of the world that have been our client base for a while, but, the Albanias, the Portugals, the South Africas, Thailand and everywhere around the world has really just been pretty incredible.
It has.
Yeah, and so lots of great things to come. It's kind of crazy looking down. It feels like the year has flown by and everything that we've done so far has just kind of come and gone in a blur, but we're not even halfway through yet. There's still many things yet to come for you guys in 2017, and today you're going to get a pretty good glimpse of kind of the one of the big right hooks that we're throwing out there and putting our stamp on the industry. And so Holly is actually, by the way, going to be stepping away for a moment to go ahead and start answering some questions for you guys. There are quite a few people in here, so you do have the ability to send in any questions as we go through the webinar today. Holly will be doing her absolute best to keep up with those and answer them. But just with the sheer volume of people in here, depending on how vocal you guys are, I'm not sure she can type quite that fast, so I'll try to keep an eye on it, help her out a little bit. If we need to, we'll circle back around at the end of the webinar as well to answer any outstanding questions, but please feel free to send in any feedback, questions, reactions, anything that you guys have, really would like to say and share with us. We are completely open to it and would love to hear it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Be patient with me. We've got a lot of people on the line today, but definitely keep the questions or comments coming. I love to see those, or just chat over and say hi. I see a lot of familiar names here today.
Holly, thanks for giving us that introduction, and we might be able to bring you back in here at the end, but if you want to go ahead and hop on, I see the chat's already coming in now, so I'll let you get to it and try to keep up with those.
Perfect. Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks, Holly. Mark and I are still here with you guys, and we're going to go ahead and start taking you through the, 4 named features that we have for you today. And really the cool thing about this is that it's got a nice flow to it. So all 4 of the things that we're introducing today are really separate as far as your project process goes and kind of the different stages of the project that you'll be encountering them in. But it's nice because we're really rolling out some things today that are going to be helping you with every single aspect or every single stage of your project. And so just kind of starting from the beginning of it and going forward, we'll go ahead and start talking about our lead capture additions that we've made and the features that we've introduced there. And as I kind of mentioned, Holly and I were talking, the lead captures are an extension of the lead tracking enhancements that we've made this year. And it's going to be one of those things that we won't really focus too much on the lead tracking feature itself. It's more of the new enhancements that we've added. If you're interested in lead tracking as a whole, we do have a recorded webinar. Any of our product specialists are happy to talk to you about it. Give us a call after the webinar or sometime later this week. We'll be happy to go through that with you. But today, the lead capture is really going to be focused on expanding your business, getting new business, being more visible to your clients, and having more of an automation in place to actually get client information and follow up with them. So with that, if we actually do navigate over to our lead tracking feature here in ConstructionOnline, you guys will be able to access the lead capture options and go ahead and set that up through our actions menu. And so another reason we won't be talking too much about the lead tracking today is because I actually don't have any leads in here, so you guys will be able to see the first one come through with our lead capture. If you go to your actions menu and go to your web capture settings, you're going to be able to access all of the setup and options that you have to actually create this. And one of the things that is really cool about this is that you've got 2 ways to do this. You've got your public profile on ConstructionOnline, which is going to be the web page that we allow you to set up that you can really customize. Go ahead and actually create any of your project galleries, your client testimonials, share some about us, service areas, really get a lot of bragging and links to your social media page. It's going to be your central hub for ConstructionOnline. And actually, just to give you guys a little bit more visibility here, let me go ahead and switch over to an account that does have a few more leads in here. So I'm going to log out, jump onto a different setting here. And this way you'll get more of a full picture of how this is going to work and where these leads come in. And there's our webinar today. Of course, you guys already know about this. So as you go into lead tracking, this is an example of what you might see if you actually have some leads in here, some pipeline stages. You can filter down by your custom stages here. But again, without going too far into the depths of the lead tracking feature itself, if you do go back up to the web capture settings, you'll see here that we do have that separate section for the public profile to turn this on. Or the second option is to actually put this on your own custom website that you already have. So while ConstructionOnline does give you the ability to set up a web page of your own, which also doubles as your client portal login, many of you already have existing websites that you've invested a lot of time and money in and have created a beautiful kind of landscape for your clients and other people looking to get in touch with you to come to. And so we've given you the ability to actually go through and create a code snippet really just with the click of a button. You click copy code, and it gives you a little JavaScript clip here that you can actually go through and put this code into your existing website to generate your lead capture fields. And you've actually got two separate options here. If you yourself are kind of a web guru or you're in charge of your website, you can go ahead and copy this code and take care of it yourself. If you've got somebody else, an IT company, a provider, somebody that's hosting this for you, or somebody that doesn't really work in your office that would have to do this for you, all you have to do is go ahead and click the email code and send this to one of your developers. That will give you the same exact code snippet, but now you can go through and actually search your ConstructionOnline contacts, or just type in an email address to go ahead and send this to. And that will actually go ahead and send that code snippet to them with some information on how to get that in place on your website, and as well as some custom options that you can do to style that or put some different colors in there, and really format it to the style of your website. And so when you do this, I'm not actually going to send the email today because we've got it all right in front of us, but you also have a final option here to go ahead and choose who's going to receive notifications for this. And we'll circle back to this in a minute, because what you're going to see is if we actually open the public profile, I have my lead capture turned on for the public profile, and as you can see, what this is going to be is a just kind of form at the bottom that allows anybody that's interested in getting in touch with you to fill in their first name, last name, email address, phone number, and of course any questions or comments regarding their interest in your business or their communication with you, and they'll be able to go ahead and submit that. And so as I'm doing this, let me go ahead and do, I'll do UDA webinar, and we'll call this UDA webinar at email.com. And then you can put in any questions or comments, and this is going to be, please send me a price quote. Not sure what they want a price quote for in this case, but I'm sure many of you will actually get things along those lines sometimes without the information you need. And so once that's submitted, you can actually come back to your lead tracking, and that will automatically create, you can see here, a UDA webinar lead for me. The email address comes in, the phone number comes in if it's entered. That's actually not a required field, but if I actually go into this as well, it's going to go ahead and track those questions or comments in here with a timestamp on it so that you know exactly where that's coming from. Now, the capture part is great. It gets the data into ConstructionOnline so that you can use it, start taking advantage of the lead tracking feature to progress the lead from the new field, which is where all of those automatically come in, to the initial contact stage, presentation stage. These are just how we have them named, by the way. You can customize this to your preference or kind of your own flow, however you categorize your lead stages. But it lets you really start it from the very beginning and roll all the way through in a very easy capture method. Now, if you're putting it on your website, I've actually got a little screenshot here. We don't have a website pulled up. I'm not actually going to go through the code part of this with you guys today. But if you put it on there, it will look something similar to this, kind of the same field style, modified a little bit differently, that you can just put straight on your website. They can fill it out from there, and that will also come directly into your leads in ConstructionOnline. So a lot of this, as I mentioned, there's some styling options available to you. As long as you know kind of what you're doing with your website, somebody had to design it somewhere along the lines, I'm sure. So we've made it very simple to put the standard code in there, but you can also go in and add your own flair, add your own styling and coloring and things like that to it to make it match the look and feel of your website. And so as you're doing that, if we circle back around finally to the web capture settings, the biggest question I feel like most people have that is going to apply to the web captures or the lead tracking settings here is how to receive notifications when one of these forms is submitted. And so you can come through here, and this list is actually going to be trimmed down or filtered down only to your company users. So only people who are pro users on ConstructionOnline. But you'll be able to choose, I want to receive a notification, and Chip wants to receive a notification either via email or via text message whenever somebody fills out one of these forms. And what that's going to do is, of course, deliver the lead name, the email address, the phone number, and any of those comments directly to you via email or text message. And so that really brings an additional element, and again, not even really touching on the enhancements to the lead tracking feature itself that we've done this year. This in itself is a major enhancement to really open communication and visibility to your team, and allow people to get in touch with you more easily and really naturally flow into that lead tracking pipeline on Construction Online. So many of you I know have been asking about this, as Holly mentioned, for quite a while. We feel very confident that this is going to be a huge benefit to everyone out there that's actually looking to do lead capture and lead tracking. And for those of you who aren't, you're probably in one of two scenarios. You either are so well connected and have such a good pipeline already that you're not out there looking for more jobs, or, and lucky you, by the way, if you're in that boat, or you don't think you need it and you're not doing anything for lead tracking yet, and you run the risk of finding yourself in a situation one day where you've got a hole in your schedule that you can't fill. And if you're in a bad spot, if you've just come upside down on a job and you're already in the hole a little bit, not having work or not having an income for a little while or not having as much income can be very dangerous. It's never a bad thing to have too many options. Really what the lead tracking feature allows you to do here as well is take these leads that you're capturing. Some of them may be unqualified, some of them might not be your specialty, but find the ones that work for you and be able to hand pick the jobs that you want to take instead of, scraping the crumbs off the floor or taking anything that comes your way because you need work. It's always nice to be in a position where you have a little more control over it and you can really pick the jobs that you want instead of having to take the ones that come to you because that's all you have available. So, with the lead capture tools, any of you that have questions about it, please give us a call, but mostly that code is going to be pretty straightforward. We won't actually be able to do the web development side of it for you or create your website, but assuming that you or somebody else has already done that, you can put those snippets directly into the code on the back end of your website. It creates the form for you. And if you don't want to go that route, we do have the public profile always available for you that we actually will put that on there for you. And just by checking that box. And you can always use that as the way to gather new leads on Construction Online. So this is going to flow very nicely as well into our next feature. Obviously, kind of progressing through the stages of a project. Once you've captured your lead, let's say you go through our lead tracking feature, track it all the way to closing the deal, and now you're ready to create your estimate. We have made some enhancements to Construction Online estimating, but that's not what we're going to be focusing on too much today as far as creating them here. What we're going to be focusing on today is how to bring estimates in or create estimates very quickly from PlanSwift. And so Mark actually is probably going to be a little bit better to talk to you about this, or at least introducing you to it, because Mark has kind of headed this up. But Mark, why don't you tell everyone today a little bit about our kind of partnership with PlanSwift and how some of this integration came to be?
Well, PlanSwift, excuse me, we've had a really good relationship with PlanSwift over the years. I've been here for almost 14 years, and so I've actually seen quite a few changes with PlanSwift, with ConstructionSuite, and now with Construction Online. Before, PlanSwift would create all the information you needed to have, and you would have to export that to a text file and then figure out how to convert everything to make sure everything would work with whatever you're trying to import it into. We have tried recently to make this as easy and simple as possible, because you don't want to be sitting behind your desk getting confused or fighting with your computer. You actually want to be in the field actually working on the stuff. So I'm trying to find as many ways as possible to reduce the questions, to reduce the number of headaches or the confusion. And so we've written the PlanSwift add-in so that way you can just hit a button and now you bring everything on over. PlanSwift is a really powerful product. It's very desktop friendly. A lot of people have used it for many, many years and they love it. Those people have requested integration or better integration with both ConstructionSuite and Construction Online through the PlanSwift salespeople themselves. I've been talking with them several times, and they are just very enamored with our possibility of building a plugin that would actually embed inside of PlanSwift.
Yeah, and that's really what it's come down to, is a lot of excitement from both sides, really. We've really enjoyed working with PlanSwift lately on this, kind of reinvigorating that partnership and taking it to the next level now with Construction Online and the actual plugin that we have to make it to where, as Mark mentioned, it's no longer an export and then import. It is a direct integration and a plugin within PlanSwift itself that you'll be able to take advantage of and very seamlessly send information back and forth. And so I guess kind of an introductory piece of information to this is that all of this is going to be done with Construction Online, at least, through our very very brand new Construction Online desktop assistant. And this is a sneak peek into this for you guys, and this is where both the QuickBooks desktop integration and the PlanSwift integration is going to be tying in. So right now we're kind of on the QuickBooks side of things, which we'll circle back to in just a bit. But all of this starts and finishes really right here within the Construction Online desktop assistant. If you go to the information tab, you've got a nice little button up here that says install PlanSwift plugin. If I actually open up PlanSwift, which for those of you not familiar with it, this is PlanSwift. This is what it looks like. We will not be doing a tutorial on PlanSwift today. Luckily, they have some very nice sample plans and information that we're just going to take directly from their installation, use for our purposes today. We won't be creating a single thing in their system. They make it very easy, but if you are interested in learning it, they also have, as you can see, a very easy way to schedule a free demo. So doing a little bit more of a plug for PlanSwift than I planned to today, but also taking a little bit of that off of us and letting you guys know that it seems like they do have some great resources for you. But here in PlanSwift, if you go over to the estimating tab, I've already installed this, the Export to Construction Online plugin here. So if you don't have this installed, all you do is open our Construction Online desktop assistant. All you do is a very quick download for this as well. It's not available to you yet, so don't worry if you don't have it. You don't have it because it's not there yet. We are sneak peeking this for you guys today, letting you see what's right around the corner. But all you do is click this button, and it will go ahead and pull up a very quick, I'll make sure it's opening on the right screen for you here. Open up a very quick menu that says plugin installed, and that did open on my separate screen. And all you have to do is close and reopen PlanSwift, and then it shows up right here on your estimating tab. And so, you know, Mark, I'm trying to find a way to actually drag this out a little bit at this point because everything's so simple that it's really just a click of a few buttons, and I'm trying to find out a way to really go into depth in this without doing a PlanSwift tutorial.
There's not much left because I tried to make it again as simple as possible so that way you wouldn't have to know how to get into the guts of the computer to do anything. So now you just go into your estimating tab of the estimate that, or the plans that you're looking at. You've already done all the markup. You already know what you're dealing with. So then you can just hit export to Construction Online, and it will send it straight to Construction Online as a completely new estimate that excuse me, that now you have full access to and can manipulate as you like.
Yeah, and so here, I'm not sure if I did that one right there. So in PlanSwift, really, getting the plugin in is all you have to do. Is clicking that button is all you have to do. Just open the, oh, and here was my message here over on my other side, I believe. And if I can bring this over to you guys just so you can see. Once you click the button in the Construction Online desktop application, or assistant, or CODA, as we will refer to it for a little while here, just for simplicity's sake. Once you click this button, after a second or two, you'll get this message. It'll say, please close and reopen PlanSwift. Of course, I already had it here, so I don't have to do that. But once that's in here, you'll create your PlanSwift plans. That's where the bulk of the work goes in as far as structuring and putting your dimensions and costs and units and things like that in. And now what you'll do is just go ahead and choose Export to Construction Online. And what this is going to do is pull up a list of your projects in Construction Online that you could potentially export or send this estimate to. And there is one thing on this, so I've only got 2 projects that are going to show up here. If I go back to Construction Online to my projects and files, you'll notice that I actually have a few more than that. I think I have 4 at this point in Construction Online. And so what this is going to do, and to avoid any confusion for anybody trying to do this, the PlanSwift integration, or the CODA integration with PlanSwift, is only going to pull those projects that are eligible for estimate import. And what that comes down to is there can't be an estimate there already. So in Construction Online, it's not going to let you overwrite an existing estimate just to make sure you don't accidentally lose that data. And the second consideration is that you actually do have to have edit permissions to that job on Construction Online for the estimating feature. So again, we've kind of taken this into account for you, simplified it as much as possible, only really giving you the options that have open estimate slots effectively. And so now, though, I can do this, choose to put this in my PlanSwift import project, which I've actually already created here on Construction Online. Oh, and you know what? I am logged in with a different account. Let me get back over to that account that I was in to start with, because that's what I have my Coda hooked up to. And so now, if I go to my projects and files, you will see that I have 2 of these 4 projects, the Getting Started and PlanSwift Import. The QuickBooks Export project already has an estimate that we're going to be using. The sample project already has an estimate. So these 2 are my only eligible options. Now though, when I click PlanSwift Import, it's just going to take a moment, go through and scan PlanSwift, put your entire estimate together, and it's really going to do that very quickly. So you'll see I already have this message that it successfully created the estimate. And now if I go into my PlanSwift Import project, go view this estimate, it will actually create this entire estimate based on the divisions and really the folder paths that you have in PlanSwift already, with all of your units, all of your pricing, all of your codes and descriptions. This came directly from PlanSwift. So maybe if I can open this up and let you see on some of these tabs. Well, in the division, I actually didn't show that properly. So this is one thing to note, is that on the division side, that's how your categories are going to be created in ConstructionOnline. So that's kind of the first level of detail. Your divisions will go through and be created: general requirements, concrete, doors and windows, thermal and moisture, etc. And all of this is completely determined by what you do in PlanSwift or how you set that up. The item level of detail here in ConstructionOnline that's created is going to come from the item names that you have here. Oh, and you know what? There we are, Mark. That's why. I know you were thinking about it the whole time. You should have just poked me and told me. But now that we've got this, so this division column does actually have our information in it for the divisions. The items are over here, as you can see. And for those of you unfamiliar with PlanSwift, don't worry too much about it. There's probably a lot of information you're trying to take in right now. The important part is, if you're using PlanSwift, you'll know what we're talking about. This is going to be very simple for you to do. You've already got things like this in place in your PlanSwift files. For those of you not using PlanSwift, if you are looking for a takeoff program to go ahead and kind of bring into your business, this is candidate number 1 at this point, for ConstructionOnline users at least, because we've got the direct integration with it. It's, to date at least, the only CAD or takeoff program that we have a direct plug-in with. We can still import Excel files from various different locations, but, and of course, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year we have plugins to many other programs once they see this and don't want to be left out. So here, though, we're going to automatically create your categories based on the divisions that you have, put these items underneath it with your quantities, with your cost, your markup percentages, and all of that comes directly into ConstructionOnline with technically the click of 2 buttons, one to install the plugin and then one to send it over. But really, it does the work for you. I'm not too used to talking about features where I'm not actually doing anything with it and just letting the entire thing run in the background. So I'm sure there's a couple questions coming in that Holly's going to be taking care of for you guys. I'll circle back around to see if I missed anything, but it really is that simple. So enjoy it. That is really one of the most effortless features that we have introduced this year, without losing a lot of power.
Right. It's very simple, but it's super powerful. So less is more sometimes, and this time I think it's a lot more than it generally can be.
Absolutely. And so one of the cool things about this now is, so continuing on with kind of the flow of our project, we've talked about the lead capture. You've brought your contact information in, or they've found you really through organic web search, through your public profile, and submitted that lead capture form. You have maybe imported your estimate from PlanSwift or created it otherwise. And now what you can do is go ahead and generate a proposal off of your estimate. And this is something, of course, that we've had in place for a while, being able to generate proposals or contract summaries. But one thing that you haven't had the ability to do is edit these documents. And so with ConstructionOnline, this is going to take us directly into our 3rd new feature of the webinar today, and that's going to be our in-browser editing. And this is really, for lack of a better term, incredible. The people who have worked on this for us internally, the developers and the team that's been put together to, really drive this feature forward, have drastically exceeded expectations. So with this, what it comes down to is you can generate any report here in ConstructionOnline. You can bring reports, PDFs, docs, docx files from Word, things like that into our system. And then all you do is go up here to click edit, and it becomes a fully editable document right here in browser. So when I say fully editable, of course, looking across the top toolbar, you have the ability to, change fonts. You can come in here and change this to something different if you want to. You can change the size, change the style, bold, italics, underline, all the basics that you would expect, of course, with any decent word editing system. But past that, past the justifications and bulleted list and just basic editing functionality, if you go to show this full toolbar, and the reason we don't show it to begin with is because there's so much here that we don't want to, have you guys lose an entire, hour or so just exploring these and being kind of enamored with all the functionality that's here. But really, you guys can customize these documents in whatever way possible. And I say that with pretty much full conviction. Anything you can do in Microsoft Word, you can do it here. Probably plus a little bit more. Because of the way that it's tied into some of our other functionality on ConstructionOnline, it was really built and geared to do this. So, image editing or changing, you can do that. Of course, typing in here, anything you want to, you can, of course, select entire tables. So tables are a big thing for a lot of these documents. I'll go ahead and show the grid lines so we can actually see what's under the hood here. And you can, change the column widths very easily, modify these to really customize the look and feel of your document. You can select a column and change the font to really bring it to, a format that you guys like or prefer. Change the colors, change the borders, change anything you want to, import images and put them right here into your document if you want to share, job site photos or before and afters or anything like that. Everything that you can possibly imagine here, you can pretty much do. Anything within reason, at least. If it exists out there in any Word document system, you should have it here. There's probably a few things that you guys are coming up with in your head, like I'd like to look at this and just think about it and it edits my fields. That's not going to happen, but just about anything else you can do. And this is, as far as web-based programs go, Google Docs or Microsoft Word, not being really web-based, but there's a web-based version of it, can do most of this, and that's what they're designed to do. Project management systems or construction management systems really lack this functionality. You go out there and you look at any of the other programs out there that you might even vaguely consider a competitor, and they might have some decent report generation. We're still very confident in our report generation even before the editing capabilities and the look and feel of it and how professional they are. But none of them are going to give you the ability to really edit or customize those documents other than a few checkboxes on initial generation. And this is really a game changer as far as that goes, because it could just be a little thing. You can have an item that the text wrapped on and it throws off your whole document. Well, here, it's a very simple change, but if you just go and expand the column a little bit, that might not wrap anymore, whereas on other programs, if they can even generate a decent report for you, won't give you that ability and you'll be stuck with it. And you'll call them up and say, hey, this happened, what do I do? And they'll say, use a shorter name. It's pretty much what the response you'll get. They won't give you any options for customizing or editing or expanding those tables, doing anything else on documents. You've got footers that you can add. Go ahead and insert a footer down here. Maybe you want to put the project name, so this is PlanSwift imports. Go ahead and put that footer down there at the bottom, and of course it applies to every page, all the way through. And this editing is kind of the cool thing about it is I've been playing with it a lot. And the budget proposal is obviously a report that's generated very frequently, has a lot of cool functionality already built in with the tables and the structure and the formatting and things like that that we pre-populate for you. But every report that we do, transmittal reports, selection summaries, game plans, all of those can be customized and edited, and they all kind of have their own unique ways that it's kind of natural or, really shines as far as the RTF tools or the in-browser editing tools that we have here, and lets you modify those in some really brilliant ways. So all of these, and so actually just peeking in on the questions that Holly's answering, and they're coming in rapid fire, so I'm going to help her out a little bit. One of the questions that just came in was, how do I find these tools? And really, any report that you generate in Construction Online, one of our pre-selected reports, or any PDF or Word document that you bring in, when you go to preview the file in Construction Online, you'll have this toolbar at the top. And to get to these tools, you just click the Edit button, and it takes you into that editing mode that I was just in. From here, though, you do still have all of the functionality that you would expect outside of editing. You can print it as a hard copy once you're done editing it. You can download it to your computer to have a digital copy of the file. You can save it to Construction Online. So if I click the Save button here, it'll let me go through and browse my project directories and maybe save this to my PlanSwift import as a proposal. And that saves directly back to your project files on Construction Online for immediate access, for being able to share that with clients. And of course, you can share via email. So maybe if you have somebody that's not logging into Construction Online, or if somebody calls you from the field and says, hey, I'm on the road, I'm on the way to a client's house, I've got to have this proposal when I get there, I forgot it. You can come in here very quickly, whip the proposal up, click share, send it to them via email, and if they want to access it that way instead of actually logging into Construction Online and doing it themselves, they've got it right there. So all of this functionality, and of course it would take probably an entire day to go through all of the functionality that we offer with our toolbars and kind of some of the applications of them. But really what this is for is to encourage you guys to get in there and look at it. You shouldn't be using Microsoft Word or Google Docs or really any other program at this point to manage your contracts, because there's nothing that they do that we don't, and all it does is create a separate system that you're having to use. So if you've got existing contracts, for example, that you'd like to use outside of Construction Online, all you have to do is bring those into the system. And so let me just go ahead and grab one maybe that I've got on my computer, maybe just a Word document, for example. And if I pull up any Word document, and I'm not entirely sure, so this one's just a couple screenshots maybe. If you pull in a Word document, you can get any of your contracts in here very easily just by choosing to upload. So if I go to the upload button here, I can choose the project I want to go to, PlanSwift import maybe in this case, and then just drag and drop it directly into the system. And I actually think there were some image files on that, so we'll see how well it can actually process images and give you editing capability. It should just leave it as one giant block. But all you would do is go into your existing contract now, choose Edit, and now you have this in Construction Online as a template or something that you can use. If you want to create contracts, by the way, you can do that as well. So you can go to Files and then do New, and it'll give you a nice blank document, or just from the New button here in Construction Online, you can click New Blank Document, and that will take you directly into the editing capability with a clean slate. And if I delete this, a clean slate. So I guess my advice at this point would be use it. We have started to get some questions, more feedback, and really I think, at all the features that we have in the document editing. It's something that has been asked for so heavily, really over the years, more so recently, and it's a shock at this point that nobody else in the industry really offers it. But the fact is they don't. Construction Online is the only platform that you'll find, web-based at least, that gives you the full functionality to edit these documents, create your own contracts, have everything here in one spot, and not depend on something else to do your document editing. Some programs don't even allow you to do that, because once you generate it in their system, it's locked in. You can't even take it outside of their system to edit it. So it really creates some complications if you don't have this, but we've introduced this and really kind of gone above and beyond, and the team that put this together exceeded my expectations. I think they have very high expectations for themselves, as all of our developers do, so they might not be able to say the same, but I was blown away by this, and I'm still congratulating them for this, 2 months, a month and a half later. So congrats. Kind of keeping an eye on the clock here. I don't want to take up too much more time, though. I kind of get enamored in that sometimes. We can move on, and Mark's going to have a little bit to say here as well, too. I don't want to steal his thunder, because he is largely responsible for this next part. But once you've generated your estimate, you've generated your proposal, the last feature, and probably one that most of you guys are interested in today, is going to be our QuickBooks desktop integration. So I've actually had a few conversations over the last few days that have centered around financial integration with ConstructionOnline and potentially other programs that they're evaluating. And the general consensus or feedback that I've gotten is, well, everything seems to be kind of moving towards QuickBooks Online. And a few conversations I've had go along the lines of, well, we do offer that. We're actually about to introduce QuickBooks Desktop, and typically the reaction is, that's fantastic. A lot of people still prefer QuickBooks Desktop over QuickBooks Online. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. We do have QuickBooks Online integration as well. Feel free to use it. Today we will focus on the desktop integration though, and while most companies are abandoning or moving away from the QuickBooks Desktop integration, we have really held fast and been determined to keep that as part of our system. I'm a fan of QuickBooks Desktop. I know many of you guys are as well. And as far as ConstructionSuite goes, Mark has a very, very large amount of expertise on that because Mark pretty much wrote the entire QuickBooks integration with ConstructionSuite. And so was a very large and critical part of our QuickBooks integration with ConstructionOnline. And we've really given you guys more power than any company out there is going to be able to offer you with your financial integration, and more control over your job costing than anybody. And so, Mark, why don't you just share a little bit about the QuickBooks Desktop? You can tie ConstructionSuite in a little bit too, but kind of how it compares with ConstructionOnline and kind of prepare people for what they're about to see.
Well, with QuickBooks, it's a big, scary accounting package that a lot of people don't quite understand. And again, we're trying to make it super simple and easy. And once you've learned how to use QuickBooks, you don't want to have to change to a whole nother ecosystem. You've already put in so many years into your company files, and so you've already got all of your data the way you like it, the way you want it, and especially if you're using our older ConstructionSuite product, you've already figured out how to make it spin and dance and do everything you want it to do. Well, when you go to ConstructionOnline, we started out with QuickBooks Online, and it did not have the same feature set that QuickBooks Desktop had, the same features that everybody really, really loved and wanted over all those years. So, might as well go ahead and create the features and bring them on in, and so that way we can not only make our clients happier, but also to make our staff happier, because we don't have to answer the questions, why don't we have QuickBooks integration, or QuickBooks Desktop integration? So, again, this is all for ease of use and keeping everything in one place, although the accounting is in QuickBooks Desktop as opposed to inside of our system. I would rather trust a system that has already proved itself, and everybody loves QuickBooks, it seems.
Yeah, and QuickBooks really, is one of the accounting standards really for the construction industry. They have, I think, over 300,000, or maybe I've got that number wrong by a power or something like that, but I'm pretty sure it's over 300,000 construction pros using QuickBooks Desktop, which isn't quite to where we are with a little over 400,000 users now, but they're coming close. And so with that, the QuickBooks Desktop integration is, as Mark kind of mentioned, very clean with ConstructionOnline. It takes what could otherwise be kind of a big scary monster or something that a lot of people struggle with, and simplifies it very much so without losing the power again. So some of the other systems out there that offer QuickBooks Online integration, most of them don't do QuickBooks Desktop at this point, or some of them do, but not very well, will give you a very watered down version of your job costing. They will lump everything into a single number. So your entire estimate comes out at this dollar value. Your entire invoiced amounts come in at this dollar value, or you spent a total of this much on the job. You don't really see where you've spent that money, or what the client's paid you for, or how your estimate breaks down. It's all just very, very weak and watered down as far as the actual information you get. And we have completely broken that mold and gone full scale with what we've offered in ConstructionSuite for so many years, what we've really hung our hat on and built our reputation on with ConstructionSuite, and given you, again, the most powerful desktop integration, or QuickBooks Desktop integration that the industry has to offer. And so with this today, we'll go ahead and jump back into this. I've got a project already created with an estimate here. Creating the estimate, of course, is something you can do on ConstructionOnline, or, as we've just seen, import from PlanSwift. And this is going to be a fairly simple estimate. It's only a couple different categories, so Again, trying to keep it as as focused as possible today. But we're going to circle back around to our Coda application, the QuickBooks side of it this time. And so just a quick introduction to navigation here. Again, we've tried not to overcomplicate this. It's a very simple navigation. On the left-hand side, you have a list of all your existing estimates on ConstructionOnline. On the right-hand side, you've got some information on the project, the client, the type of estimate, when it was modified, some basic info on the price, and QuickBooks information. I've actually already integrated this with QuickBooks once, so I've got some lingering information here, but I'll show you guys from the very beginning how this is going to work. And so the first thing you'll want to do is actually go into your initial setup, and we have given you the ability here to really tell ConstructionOnline how your QuickBooks is set up and give you more flexibility in the way this is going to integrate so that you can continue using your accounting systems the way that you're used to and not have to adjust it or change your course of actions to accommodate our software. And so here, what the setup is mainly going to do is tell ConstructionOnline how you want your accounts and how you want your items set up in QuickBooks. So we do have direct integration with your chart of accounts and items list. You can choose to use a parent account, which everything is going to be umbrellaed under or kind of underneath in a hierarchy. And then you can choose what level of detail to go to. So single accounts, every category in ConstructionOnline gets an account, or every category and subcategory, so pretty much every line in ConstructionOnline gets an account. Personal preference here, we do not recommend one over the other. It is all up to you guys, and that's why we've given you this flexibility. Items, same thing. You can either use a parent item or not. As far as organization goes, choose what type of item. Also choose what types of accounts you want to create if you're creating them as well. And then tie the items to a revenue account if you're using them for invoicing. And so at this point, this is step one, and it's only a one-time step before you really go into sending and receiving information. And once you've kind of looked this over and chosen what you want, pro tip here, something that I recommend for everybody, always make a backup of your QuickBooks file before you do anything. The settings are very easy to change as far as ConstructionOnline is concerned and our Coda application goes. QuickBooks, once you've created those accounts for those items, if you've gone a little too far and created it with too much detail, it's not undoable, but it's a very tedious process. QuickBooks is a very deliberate program for good reason. They don't let you just go in and mass delete things. So if you send over more information than you wanted, if you haven't made a backup, you're going to have to go in and manually delete those and clean it up yourself. If you have made a backup, lucky you, all you have to do is click a button to restore that backup, and in about 20 seconds, you're right back where you were. You change your settings on ConstructionOnline, and it integrates perfectly the next time. Or not. Or you do it a third time because you still didn't choose the right settings. But then again, no harm, no foul. You've got a backup. You're safe. So always make a backup. Rule number one, before you touch this thing, make a backup of your QuickBooks file. It doesn't hurt. It's not going to take more than 20 seconds of your time. And just do it. So that being said, once you have gone through the initial setup, you're now actually ready to go ahead and send over some information to QuickBooks. I have got a nice, clean, brand new company file here, so you guys can see exactly what we're going to do. No customers, no jobs, no anything. And so if I minimize this, I'm going to go ahead and what we're going to do here is go ahead and take this QuickBooks export, so this estimate that I have pulled up behind us in ConstructionOnline, and create an estimate for it in QuickBooks. And what this is going to do is really go into QuickBooks and create your customer. It's going to create your job. It's going to create the estimate in that job. And based on the settings that you just chose in your initial setup, it's going to configure your items list and chart of accounts. So it doesn't necessarily have to blow up your items list or chart of accounts with a lot of new information. If you have your estimate structured in a way that matches your QuickBooks items list and chart of accounts, and it will just use the existing items and accounts, you could theoretically do this without creating a single new item or account. But depending on what you have in ConstructionOnline and the options you've chosen, we do have the ability to create the new accounts and item structure for you so that you don't have to manually go through and do that. And so when you're going to create this estimate, it's automatically going to include the body of the estimate, the base estimate for you. You can choose to include your overhead and margin or your markups in there as well, depending on how you want to send this over and what you're doing in QuickBooks. Again, personal preference. It's all based on your accounting style and the methods that you're using. So there's not a right or wrong setting here. but I'm just going to send it over with the basic estimate. And what you'll see is here in QuickBooks, that fast, it has, let me take a step back because it zooms in on that for us, created the customer, and this is going to be your client, by the way, your ClientLink member on Construction Online, your job based on the project name in Construction Online, and then it creates the estimate. And again, this is a very small scale estimate. There's only 3 different categories with a couple items each, but it automatically populates these items, puts your quantities in here, generates your costs, and I've got a full scale estimate. I did leave my overhead and margin out, by the way, keep in mind, so that is why my contract price is slightly lower than I have here on Construction Online. But it very quickly generates that estimate, and now you can continue doing things in QuickBooks off of that estimate that you would do otherwise. Creating bills, creating purchase orders, invoicing off of that estimate. And we do help and facilitate some of that information here in the desktop assistant. So at this point, kind of going a step farther into your QuickBooks integration, what you can do, and any ConstructionSuite users will be very familiar with this functionality. Anybody who hasn't used ConstructionSuite will be very pleased, I think, with the Construction Online functionality that we've got here. And so if you go and create an invoice now in QuickBooks off of this estimate, you just click this Create Invoice button. And now you can choose what areas of the estimate to invoice for. So you can do the entire estimate if you want, or you can do categories at a time maybe. So I'll invoice for my foundation category. And I'll invoice for 100% of it this time. You can do different percentages of that category or the selections that you've made if you want. I'm going to keep it simple and just invoice for the entire foundation category. And now when I complete this, if I go back over to QuickBooks and to my Customer Center, you'll see that now I have an invoice alongside my estimate. And so if I open this up, it's created an invoice with all 5 of my lines from the estimate here in Foundation. So if I look here, I've actually got, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items in the Foundation category, but 2 of them don't have values. So it's smart enough to actually know not to populate that invoice with things that aren't relevant to the estimate. It's only going to include those items that actually have an estimated value. So when you generate this, the invoice is here. It automates that process for you, so you're not going through line by line, creating those individual items, making sure the rates and the quantities are correct, and you can go ahead and save that into your QuickBooks customer. Now to take it a step farther and take advantage of some of the job costing functionality that Construction Online has, you can now come back into the desktop assistant and actually import those invoiced amounts back into your Construction Online estimate. So you don't have to create an invoice from this desktop assistant. You can manually create invoices in QuickBooks, maybe have a little bit more customization or flexibility on them if you have different percentages or have to really get into the work completed percentages for the invoice. But when we do this, you can choose to import either all invoices, your paid or unpaid invoices. And when you do that, really just in the click of a button here, if we snap back to our Construction Online page here, and it is still finishing up for me here in the background, so we're going to go ahead and reload this. Those of you who aren't familiar, by the way, with our Construction Online estimating enhancements, we now have 3 separate views or modes for you on the right hand side. The first one is your contract generation, is really geared more towards actually creating your estimate, costing out your job, and putting together your quantities, unit costs, things of that nature. But then we have some post-contract views for your internal budgeting and the client's invoicing. And the invoicing tab is where you'll actually see those dollar values come in from QuickBooks. If I pull this up side by side, you'll see that it does indeed go right down the list. 3,500, 1,200, 640, 1102, and 504. Right here in line. You've got the ability now to see this in dashboard form. So I've invoiced for 100% of foundation, nothing else on the job. And soon to come will be some advanced estimating reports for your financials or job costing now that we've got the ability to import all of this so seamlessly. The next step, of course, is giving a lot better reporting and more functionality to that in Construction Online. So look forward to that. That's just one of the many things I'm sure that's coming around the corner. But back to the functionality here, a few of the other things you can do. And we won't go completely in depth with this because it's going to be almost identical to what we just saw here, just with different transactions. You can also create a PO in Construction or in QuickBooks Desktop from the estimate. So this is going to give you the ability to do a few things with the estimate as far as filters go that the invoice doesn't give you. You can filter by the resource that's assigned, of course. So if you've got 20 different vendors in your Construction Online estimate that are providing you with bids or materials or whatever it may be, when you go to create this PO, you can actually filter, of course, first of all, by the parts of the estimate that you want to do this for. So let's say framing, in this case, is what we want to generate a PO for. Then you can filter out by the resource. And I actually don't have any resources in my estimate, so I've got a blank list. But if you had, let's say, somebody doing your wall framing material, somebody doing your ceiling framing, and somebody doing your roof decking. Typically, you'd want to get all those from the same supplier in most cases, but let's say that you don't. You can go in and say, all right, well, I just want to do everything in this framing category that is from vendor A, or vendor B, or vendor C. You can also filter by classification, so make sure that you're excluding any labor there and only including materials. And then choose who the vendor is going to be on the QuickBooks PO. I only have one vendor right now. This is that brand new company file that all I have is a tax vendor for. So I'll go ahead and just create this PO for you really quickly. And what this is going to do is, of course, bring this purchase order in into your vendor center. I've got the PO that was just created for a little over $5,100 based on all of those framing materials. And again, all of that is generated on the fly for you. No manual entry. You don't have to go through and choose line by line what's going to happen here or search through your QuickBooks items list to find them. It will generate this automatically. And then from there, the parts that we're not really going to talk about because we've already hit it just from a different angle is going to be, once you've created that PO, you can import those committed costs back into your Construction Online estimate, much of the same way we did with the invoiced amounts. And that's going to come into your budgeting tab here in the committed costs. And you can also do the same thing with actuals. So that's going to be your bills, your checks, your paychecks, your credit card charges. Anything that you have expensed in QuickBooks for this job can be imported into your actuals column. And then from there, Construction Online automatically calculates your remaining balance, the profitability on the job, or each item that you've got here. And again, some very advanced job costing and reporting already available to you, and some more to come as well. So this is, I've seen quite a few questions come in here, and just to kind of ease you guys that are chomping at the bit, looking for this application and trying to figure out where you're missing it. Again, it is not live at the moment. This is a bit of a sneak peek into it. As you can see, it is very functional, very close to being finished at least. Quite a few things behind the scenes, of course, that you guys won't be aware of yet that we are still finalizing and finishing before we roll it out to you. But I know Mark is ready to get this thing out as well, and it's kind of been his baby for a little bit. And so he and another developer or two here have been really chugging away, putting in the hours to get this out in your hands, because it has been something that we have heard so many people say is right at the top of their list. It's not even comparable to anything out there. So many people are looking for this, and finally, you'll have the ability to find it here in Construction Online, because it's not anywhere else in the industry. So that is probably about all the talking that I have in me today. Mark is going to disagree with you, and he'll tell you that I can talk your ear off, but and I probably could. I could talk about these things all day. But for those of you who are tuning in, as Holly mentioned, I know we have some people really joining us from across the world today. It's getting into the wee hours of the night, early hours of the morning already for you guys. So I do want to go ahead and start wrapping up for you and let you get back to your daily business. But as I'm sure many of you are kind of thinking, Construction Online is your daily business. And so we're very proud to really release these features to you guys, show you all the momentum that we've really had with Construction Online. It's been incredible being a part of this for the last 4 years, and really seeing how far Construction Online has come, even in that span. It didn't start, at a very low benchmark or low baseline, but the ceiling is just so much higher than I ever thought that it would be. And not any, discredit or anything towards the program, but everything here is just so slick and coming together so well that it's pretty incredible. And to be a part of it has been a pretty enlightening experience.
And with the changes in technology and things that you can already do on your phones, on your tablets, on your computers, you're seeing that you can use other programs to do other things. And we're catching up with some things, and we're actually creating bleeding edge technologies at the same time. So it's always been a challenge. It's always fun. It's an enjoyable experience. Just come in and try to attack some of the problems that you have that you've complained about over the years, and just say, hey, I can actually do this now and make this super simple for you and make this as convenient as possible.
Absolutely. And this is one of those things that we're, we've got our partners like PlanSwift that we obviously enjoy working with and are doing really great things on their own side and bringing this in. But this is one of those things that hopefully by the end of 2017, another 6 months from now, we'll have maybe a biannual or a twice this year release of a couple features at a time, and hopefully talking about the things that you guys have been asking for. Digital takeoff, tying in with our redline tools, some more items database control with estimating. Really, we are motivated, to say the least, to really continue to widen the gap with our estimating and job costing on ConstructionOnline. We got so used to ConstructionSuite being head and shoulders above anything else around with our estimating and job costing and everything like that we really won't accept anything other than being the best on ConstructionOnline as well when it comes to the web-based platforms. So that's kind of a personal motivation, internal motivation that I think everyone here has, because it's a point of pride really for everybody. I mean, it is cut and dry, something that we are very proud of, and don't let go of lightly. So keep looking for those pushes. I am going to take just a second, put you guys on pause, and just look back through these questions to see if there's anything really outstanding that Holly hasn't been able to get to. They have been flowing in very quickly, and I'm sure she's ready to give her hands a rest. But I'll be right back with you guys. I'm just going to double check, make sure there's nothing here. If you do have to get out of here, I definitely appreciate you joining us, and if you're not going to stick around for the Q&A answers. But this webinar will be recorded, posted, and sent out as well. If you want to rewatch it, we will definitely announce when the QuickBooks and PlanSwift desktop assistant comes out as well, so that you guys can get your hands on that and give us all the feedback that you have and go ahead and take advantage of it. But I will be right back with you guys. Thanks for hanging in there for me. Okay, everyone, thanks for hanging in there for us for a second. I was able to read through these, and Holly's actually answered a lot of them. Some of the ones that she's answered individually, I did want to echo a little bit just to kind of spread the word and make sure we're all on the same page with them. A lot of the questions have been focused on, of course, when will this be available? And so just to recap, the lead capturing that we covered today is available. The document editing functionality is available already on ConstructionOnline, but the desktop assistant that has the PlanSwift integration and the QuickBooks desktop integration will hopefully be available. Don't want to give a definite timeline, but in the next couple of weeks is what we're really shooting for.
Yeah, right now we're stress testing it and making sure that it won't break on your systems, and we want to make sure that we have a nice helpful interface and a lot of helpful information, so you understand what the questions are being asked and what you really want to do is what you really want to do.
Exactly, and everything looks very seamless and very easy today. And it is once it's working right, but most of it comes down to we know how to use it right now to not break it. So there's still a few things that we didn't show you guys, of course, today that will not work quite so nicely with the integration. So we're kind of polishing up those edges, making sure that if anything does not necessarily go wrong, but if you're trying to do something that isn't supported, that we're telling you very explicitly what you're doing, making sure that we're giving you next steps and direction on how to properly do it. And that's really what's going on behind the scenes right now with that. So I know it looks like it's ready to be in your hands right now. We want you to have a better experience than that. So we are polishing up a few edges, and hopefully we'll be out for you within the next couple of weeks. Another major question that we've had is regarding the integration functionality, and those of you who are familiar with ConstructionSuite have asked about our AIA generation. So being able to generate app for pays with that G702 and G703 form. We do that very, very well with ConstructionSuite, and great news is that is certainly a plan to have in our QuickBooks integration at some point a little later this year. One of those things like digital takeoff that we are also planning on enhancing our functionality with. It will not be part of the initial release of our QuickBooks integration. So I know many of you are huge fans of that, and we'll be waiting on that very eagerly. The app for pay generation, G702 and G703 forms will be coming, but not with the initial release. So we will definitely be sure to let you know when that comes out, as well as the initial release of this. That's something that everyone else was focusing on in the questions as well is making sure you're notified when the next week or two or a couple weeks, however we come out with, is handled. And so with that, we are going to go ahead and wrap up today. I didn't see any other questions come in. We will do a quick audit of them as well at the end. I know Holly has told some of you guys that she will be in touch with you after the webinar, and she has actually joined us again as well. So I appreciate, Holly, all of your hard work in answering these questions. So it looks like
everyone, you guys had some great questions today.
So Holly is off the keyboard, so if you're still sending them in, she will not be answering them at the moment, but we will get back to you. Please feel free to call in, ask any of our product specialists any questions that you have. We're happy to help. But most of all, thank you for joining us today. It's really exciting for us. Seems like it's really exciting for the rest of you as well to really be a part of this. And we're looking forward to continuing to roll out some new features for you. And I'll let you guys get back to work. And if you guys are like me, you're going to be gearing up for a Game 3 tonight. So we will go ahead and let you get out of here and get to that. So have a great afternoon, great evening, and I look forward to talking to each and every one of you at some point.